What is it that you believe about yourself and about life in general? Are your thoughts your own, or have you been programmed or conditioned to believe what you believe? Today, we're going to talk about the conditioning. What are we going to talk about? Social hypnosis, the conditioned mind, and how to get out of that on Elevate with the gorgeous Kristen Mishmash coming up. Stay tuned. Welcome to Elevate, the awareness shift, waking the quantum self. I'm KAren Swain, your host, and you're listening on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM, syndicated radio all over the world. Hello. Welcome to another Elevate show. Elevate consciousness, the awareness shift, waking the quantum self. I have to thank KAren Swain for that, because she gave me the name for that. Hello, Kristen. How are you?
Hi,
gorgeous one?
Hello.
So I've got the luscious ladies and lads online. Hello. Vladdy's been very chatty in our group chat today, and we're going to talk about some of the things. God, today's show is so synchronistic. I was just telling Kristen that I watched Sean Ryan's show with Chase, what's his name? Chase Hughes, who's a psychologist, talking about all this stuff recently. And it's a subject passionate to my heart, because the whole reason I'm on media, and I had to overcome all my shyness and all my BS, telling myself that I'm not enough, not good enough, not intelligent enough, not this enough, years ago, was because I was so passionate about this subject, about how we've been hypnotized to believe in our limitedness. And I felt like I have to teach people about their empowerment and about deliberate creation and about the laws of the universe and who we are as spiritual beings having a physical experience, because everything around us, society, religion, is telling us otherwise, telling us things about ourselves which are not true, and we believe them. I believe them. I tell you what, the hypnosis of social conditioning, when I grew up, being skinny was like one of the main goals. And all of us teenagers, 13-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old girls, all we wanted to do was to be skinny, because all the fashion magazines, so this is pre-internet, obviously, every model was the stick thin model, no boobs, no hips. And that still runs me like 50 years later, that I have to be thin. And the more I think about being thin, the fatter I get. So I'm still being hypnotized by social conditioning. As a woman, you've got to look like this, you've got to be this, to be loved, to be successful. What about you, Kristen?
Yeah, I mean, there's that social conditioning for me as well. And, yeah, I was just raised in that, my value, the value of my worth is by how thin I am, so
Right.
The heavier I am, the less worth I feel in myself, which is so silly, because there's some things about that none of us can control, or why would we want to? But we're so
Right.
conditioned, and you and I were even talking about that before we hopped on today. Like, as much as we think we know, and as enlightened as we are, and as much as we know so many things don't matter, it's stuck in there still.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My guides, when I broach this topic of weight, they throw my own teaching back in my face. And I, instead of resisting it, love it. So what you resist persists. So when you look in the mirror, can you love what you look like? And I'm like, no, because I want to look like this and I don't. But this has been my whole life, like with the body dysmorphia, the body image,
Yeah.
and how important is that? We are not our bodies, and I keep having these conversations with myself. We are not our bodies. We are the consciousness that runs the body. Focus on that. Focus on the love. Don't focus on, But anyway, it still haunts me. It's still part of my conditioning. And all of us are under this PSYOP, psychological operation, from the get-go. But we are in the era of disclosure. We are in the era of disclosure. And the era of disclosure says that what has been hidden is being revealed. So the fact that it has been hidden, that we've been conditioned, we've been hypnotized to believe in certain things so that we can be controlled, so that we can be dumbed down, so that we can become good consumers and, buy stuff we think we
Yep.
need when we don't really need. I mean, it's all being disclosed. And as I say, the synchronicity of this show, like I watched Sean Ryan's show with Chase talking about this, and I loved it. And then I popped on AJ, the Y files, and he had just uploaded yesterday after I decided to talk about this on the show. He just uploaded a show talking all about it too. I'm like, okay, everyone's talking about it. This is so cool. Not that 3 people are everyone, but yeah, they're big podcasters and they're talking about it. But yeah.
I have a question for you then, Karen. So when did you, because this isn't new information to you. When did you really realize, disclosure is happening about it, but when did you yourself know that a lot of this wasn't real?
It's funny when you know something, how when you know something, you know it as information, and then you can listen to it over and over and over again, and you agree with it. And you go, yeah, that's right, that's right, that's right, that's right. But then one day it drops, and it drops like, oh my God, this is really true, and this is my truth. That happened for me when I was in my 30s, and I did a healing course, and we were learning to expand our psychic abilities. And the woman teaching the healing course had been married to an hypnotist. And so she taught us about brainwaves. And she taught us about, she's like a healer, and she's a really big healer, and she does courses. She teaches teachers. So people are teaching her course all over the world. And her background, she came out to Australia, God, how many years ago? Like 25 years ago is when I did her course. And we were all young back then. And she was telling us her background before she did this. She was always a psychic, but she got really sick. And when she got really sick, she was trying to heal herself, and she did a whole lot of things. And her guides kept telling to her, you know what to do, you know what to do, you know what to do. Because it was all about the power of her mind and the power of decision. Instead of thinking, I'm sick, I need this medicine, I'm sick, I need this healer, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. She had used the same formula to do psychic readings as the guides asked her to heal her body. And that was to know that she could. And so she called it, go up and speak to God and let God handle the details, sort of thing, which is like the formula of law of attraction, like ask, orchestrate, allow. So we ask when we get sick. The universe orchestrates, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, life, law of attraction. And allowing is that stop resisting, stop pushing against. That's why the guides say to me, you know what to do when I want to lose weight. And I hate being fat. And then the guides say, stop hating it, start loving it. It's like, ooh. It's like, let go of the resistance. Hey, honey.
Yeah.
And so in the course, she taught us about the brainwaves. And she was saying, when we're in our logical minds, our analytical minds, we're in the alpha, and then we drop into the beta, and then we drop into the theta. I'm using the American app. We say beta, theta in Australia, and then we drop into delta. And she talked about how media puts you in a theta brainwave. And when you're in a theta brainwave, you're relaxed and your logical mind is open. So it's beautiful to be in hypnosis, to put yourself not into hypnosis, in meditation, to be in a theta brainwave, because you're relaxed and your logical mind opens, and so you can access subconscious programming, subconscious beliefs, and you can access superconscious wisdom, knowledge. But in that state, you're susceptible to the information coming in. So it goes straight into your programming. So as we watch media, music, television, screens, where it puts us in that relaxed state, and then the information coming in goes straight into it's programming. It's a form of hypnosis. And so that is when the penny dropped for me, Kristen. It was like I knew it beforehand, but it was like, oh, damn, like this is real, and this is happening, and this is how you control humanity. Like this is what's been going on. Especially since the event of television.
And they call it television programming, right?
Right.
Because they're programming. How important are those words? This is when it dropped for me, and television had a lot to do with it. But I was a young mom, I think I had 4 kids, the oldest was like 12. And I was a stay-at-home mom most of the time, working side jobs here and there, or I think I was running my husband's construction company out of my house. But I watched TV, and I remember watching Oprah, and every time, every episode of Oprah was over, unless it was the like Thursday episode where they'd interview a celebrity, but I would feel really kind of crappy, and I'd feel kind of bad, and I'd be like, oh, I really do need to exercise. Oh, I really do need to. And I was like, wait a minute, how come every time after I watch her show, I feel bad? And I noticed that certain shows that I watched, I'd feel really bad just about myself. I'd start beating myself up and feeling guilty. And then I also was reading like children magazines for moms to make the home life more fun and exciting and all these activities. And I would read the magazine, and then I would try an activity or two, and they would kind of flop, and I'd feel really bad, but I'd go out and buy more stuff. And I started to realize, oh, these things are making me feel bad on purpose. Like you said, it dropped for me one day. Like it totally was making me feel bad. I stopped watching TV shows like that, where like Oprah wasn't just an interview show. Like they would like expose about how women don't really know that they're so susceptible to heart attacks. So all kinds of women were really worried about heart attacks all of a sudden, right? Like stuff like that. Anyway, I stopped watching it. And then sometime in the next few months, my book club that I was in, we would read nonfiction every once in a while. And one of the girls in my book club or women picked a book called Spin Sisters. And it's by Myrna Blythe, written in the 90s or 80s or 90s or 2000s. And this woman was editor-in-chief of like Red Book or one of these women's magazines that was really popular for 11 or 12 years. And she just blew the top off of all of the fact that everything in those magazines is lies to sell us products to make us feel better. Like she's like the top 10, reasons of whatever, or the top 5 things to pleasure your man. She goes, we just made those things up to sell magazines. And I was I felt so validated. And then I started to be like, my church makes me feel bad. This makes me feel bad. And it's when it all just started to open. I think I just was self-aware to go like, why am I so depressed? I'm not a depressed person.
The biggest psychological operation in the world is you are not enough.
Ever.
You are not enough ever. You're not thin enough. You're not young enough. You're not smart enough. You're not rich enough. You're not healthy enough. And it's perpetuated. Like just put on any ad. Any ad is telling you that. Anything. And it's perpetuating a belief in your limitation. Like that is the biggest psyop ever. You are not enough. And when you have a spiritual awakening and go down a spiritual path, you realize that I remember I used to work in the film industry catering. And the poor guy, I loved him, who he owned the business. I worked for him. I was in my 30s, I think then, early 30s. I would be telling him about all the things I'd be reading in books and all the revelations I was having. And I remember being in the truck one day, making a salad for the gang. And I started saying, how can we be not enough? We are God. I am God. We are God. And he's like looking at me like she's gone crazy. But yeah, I mean, the truth is we are an extension of the source energy. We're an extension of infinite intelligence. We're an extension of God, source. How can we ever be not enough? How could we ever be not enough?
Yeah.
I want to come back to what Vladdy said here.
Yeah.
For me, it was when I noticed that the media talked 95% about horrible stuff and only 5% about good stuff. That's when I stopped watching it. So years ago, again, when I was young, I met this guy who worked for The Sun. He was an English reporter that was out here. This is showing my age. He was out here chasing Koo Stark, who was a young girl that, was it Prince Andrew or Prince Charles was dating or following or something? Anyway, it was something to do. It was a British press, and he was out here reporting on. And I met him in a nightclub, and we became friends. And I remember talking to him because he worked in media about people want to hear about positive stuff. And he's like, no, they don't. People are only interested in the traumas of this world. And I argued with him about this for years. I think he still believes it. He's still in the press. He has his own radio show on LB, some big radio station over in the UK. And they talk politics and stuff like this. But the media believes that people are only interested in the terrible things. And someone told me years ago, who worked in media, that the catch cry is, if it bleeds, it leads. So the more horrible the thing, the more attention the media give it. If it bleeds, it leads. And I was always arguing, we want more positive stuff in our media, but again, these people working in the media, business, were hypnotized to think this is what the public wants. And this morning before we came online, I'm scrolling through Instagram as I normally do. And, it's the puppies and the rescues and the things that are endearing and funny that are getting all the attention on Instagram. So this is actually proving the opposite of what the media says. We only want drama. We only want negative stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, we don't, like, people are posting good news. I remember I said to him, why don't you have a good news network? Oh, it'll never work. People don't want good news. They're not interested in good news. All over Instagram, there are these good news channels. Let me tell you, and I subscribe to all of them. So, yeah, we do. We want to feel good. We want good news. We don't want to focus on all the crap all the time.
Right.
Yeah, g'day, Kristen. Oh, Mish, she's online. Yeah, so, turning off the media. You turn it off until you can see it through different eyes. So if you watch bad news and you take it personally, or you get angry, or you feel like you live in a horrible world, I think, was it Vladdy saying this morning in the group, I live in a prison planet. We're all prisoners on this planet. There's so much stuff going around in the spiritual community that's trying to stop beautiful, enlightened information getting out there. And, the Greys say we live in a prison planet and all this sort of stuff. And Shirley sent me something on Instagram saying, this girl saying that Deepak Chopra is a false prophet because he was photographed or seen talking to girls that were trafficked at Epstein parties or something like this.
Yeah.
And again, she's like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, again, it's false information trying to make us turn away from some of the most beautiful, empowering spiritual teachers, because Deepak Chopra is one of those gurus or scientists who runs with the rich and famous. Now, when you run with the rich and famous, there's a lot of rich guys who are perverted, crooks. And maybe you're going to be in a photograph with them. And maybe there are trafficked girls that are at these parties that are, sent out to seduce men, and maybe you are going to be seen talking to these girls. I'm sure that at these high-end parties, they're not saying, hey, I'm being trafficked. Most of them are getting paid a lot of money or whatever, or they're hypnotized or whatever. So, when you run in those circles, you're going to come across those people. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are one of them. I found out something shocking when I was living up on the Northern Beaches about an ex-boss who was a chef of one of the high-end restaurants. I won't go into it, but I knew him, my daughter knew him, and I found out something horrible about him. But so I rubbed shoulders with this person simply because I ran in those circles. It doesn't mean I'm one of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So again, there are these psyops. If you see a photograph of someone next to someone at a party or whatever, they're now pedophiles.
Well, and I struggle now because believing anything I see, because AI has gotten really good and people use it all the time. And, I can I like to think I can tell when it is and when it isn't, but how do I really know, because it's really gotten to be very smooth technology. So I don't even know if those photos where you see people are real, things like that. So it comes down to trusting myself. I want to talk about something that you brought up, though, a little bit more, where you kept saying how, like, we're just told we're not enough, we're not whole, we're not enough, And I came across, I don't remember if it was a reel or a little snippet on, I think it was Instagram. Here we are, like, confessing that we're on Instagram. But but it talked about how this is what it was. It's people that are more enlightened or more open spiritually like us. And when we get to a level and we have a hard time finding, partners, like loving, partners, and why we're often alone. And what it was saying is that we've been taught basically since forever that we are not whole unless we have another half. I'm always missing
Exactly.
somebody to bring me to be whole and one. And
Mhm.
but when I learned that I am God, if you use that word, I am source, I am whole, then
Mhm.
I unless I find somebody else who has that same belief, I'm coming as half a person with all those fears and all those things
Exactly.
that are tied up in, and then we're also fed the psyop, if you will, that I'm only really in love unless I have butterflies. I don't have butterflies in my stomach. Do I
Right.
really love this person? Well, the
Right.
butterflies mean that you're anxious and stressed, but we're taught that having butterflies is the thing. When it's really when you're calm and relaxed around somebody, then you
Right.
can be whole and
I
feel
know.
whole.
The
Yeah.
whole relationship, but everything, every aspect of living on earth has been perpetuated by this. And yeah, as I say, we're in the age of disclosure, so it's being disclosed. But the
Mhm.
relationship thing, especially, Jerry Maguire, you complete me.
Yes.
He stopped me and hello, you complete me, and we all go, oh, he completes her, or she completes him, or whatever. But yeah, it's like the whole romance thing. I remember having a discussion like this with Rosemary, who ran the Academy of Light, and she said something like, "When I realized that romance was a ruse, was a the whole romance thing is a ruse, a psyop to make us feel again not enough as a whole person and looking for romance." I just remember thinking about this, going, "What romance? What?" And I looked into it. Yeah, like we're looking for love in all the wrong places. We're looking for someone to complete us, to love us so that we can feel loved instead of feeling the love that is our source, feeling the love that we are. Michael Tamora said it beautifully on one of the many shows I had him on when he was still in the body. Like a lot of older women, our age, are single and they're looking for love, and they're all talking about their twin flame or their soulmate. Maybe they've been married and had kids, but they knew that the husband wasn't their twin flame or soulmate, and they had the attraction for whatever reason, and they're not on board with their spiritual consciousness beliefs, and so they're looking for somebody. And he said a lot of women are looking for that love in the partner, but they've been put on earth as spiritual, conscious, aware beings to give the love that they're looking for. Like where you're looking for it in the other, but look for it in yourself and give it. Like give that love that you're looking for. And it just hit me like a brick when he said that. I'm like, this is so true. Because at the time I was younger, when I was getting a lot of women that were in their 50s, I think I was in my 40s, that were asking me, can you see love in my path? Can you see love? Can you see one? I had one girlfriend
Mhm.
who had a marriage, and she constantly talked about it. She was 10 years older than me, so she's in her 70s now. She constantly talked about it and never found that love that she was looking for in the other. Because
Right.
again, we're looking for it in all the wrong places. I still have
But
no idea how to love the person I see in the mirror, Vladdy
yeah.
says. Yeah,
Yeah.
the person that you see in the mirror is not you. The person that you see in the mirror is the body that you're wearing. Who you are is the love. And so if you're trying to love the personality or the mind or the body or the look, yeah, my guides are saying, you're listening to what you're talking about, Karen? You're listening to yourself? I'm like,
I know
yes,
we're
I'm
calling
listening.
ourselves out.
I'm calling myself out. I know. You are not the person. Byron Katie talked about this too when she had, I say this so many times, but it's so powerful. When she had her spiritual awakening and she woke up one morning and a cockroach crawled over her foot, such a romantic spiritual awakening. Cockroach crawls over her foot, and she wakes up in this altered state of awareness, and she looks in the mirror and she has no idea who the person staring back at her is, because she's not identified with the ego, mind, personality, body complex. She's only identified with that energy that is who she is as a spirit or a soul, that infinite expansion, that infinite unity and connectedness. And the spiritual awakening journey is all about remembering that and coming back to that. And it doesn't mean we have to do it all in one lifetime. We have lifetimes to get this right. So we don't have to beat up on ourselves for not being the guru in this lifetime. But just remembering and telling ourselves that and helping others believe that love is the only truth. All the rest. What did Einstein say? I want to know the thoughts of God. The rest are details. The rest are details. All the rest are just
Oh.
details of of the simulation or the matrix that we come to play in. But yeah, love, even to love the psyops, even to love that we've elected to come into this world and to play. What's she saying? Yes, info flying at us in all directions. Absolutely. Info flying, Shirley says, info flying at us in all directions. So I wanted to play this. Let me see if I can. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. To play that, just the beginning of AJ's show, share screen, which are the Y-files, something you and I love, which is more directed at a more mainstream audience, manufactured reality, which he dropped yesterday. Let me know if you can hear this, because
it looks like it's loading.
Can you hear it?
Pop quiz.
Yeah.
Which of these statements is true? Eggs raise your cholesterol. You need 8 glasses of water a day. Milk builds strong bones and teeth. Trick question. None of those are true. Diamonds are rare, right? No, they're not. Depression comes from a chemical imbalance in the brain. Nope. Now, these aren't mistakes or outdated science. These are psychological operations, psyops, designed to control what you buy, what you think, and how you live. We're being programmed every minute of every day, and most people don't know it. But after today, you'll know exactly how you're being manipulated.
Yeah, so that's the Y-files that just dropped. Yeah, you'll know exactly how you're being manipulated. So what do you do about it when you know exactly how you've been? When he said eggs cause cholesterol, when I was a naturopathic student, 5 years full-time studying health, the biggest argument was the humble egg. I remember leaving that thinking, I'm going to eat whatever I like, whenever I like, because it's actually not about what you put in your mouth. It's how you think about it and how you feel about it. So in the health industry, there are so many people saying, don't eat this, do eat that, don't eat this, don't, there's I remember Esther Hicks said, as Abraham flowing through her, I don't know how you humans can put anything in your mouth because you've demonized every food. Like everything's bad for you. And I remember the humble egg. So yeah, the yolk contains a lot of cholesterol, and cholesterol was the demon. But it also contains a lot of lecithin. So lecithin is a chemical that breaks down cholesterol. But the yolk is designed to build the body of a chicken, right? It's like the little embryo is feeding off. So it's really high in a lot of nutrients. But the humble egg was like, it's going to kill you. It's healthy for you. Like no one could decide back in the 90s if the egg was going to kill you from cholesterol, if it was really healthy for you, or go on.
Well, the catchword there that I, misunderstood almost all my life is the word cholesterol. Well, there is actually a measurement I get when I go get a blood test of good cholesterol and bad cholesterol in my body. And I don't remember enough to know like LDL and whatever, but the egg is high in cholesterol, but it's actually high in the good cholesterol, whatever that one is. And so, and what it comes down to is there are people that are allergic to eggs. I'm allergic. I have some food allergies. And some people are surprised at what I'm allergic to because it's things that people eat. Like, I think you're a vegetarian. Are you vegan, KAren?
I call myself Megan, which is mostly vegan. Because I eat eggs, I eat honey, I eat things that vegans don't eat. And sometimes I will have a little bit of fish. And sometimes
I think we had fish and chips when I came to see you. I think you broke down.
Maybe I had some fish. Yeah.
You took us to a really good spot. But my point is like I'm highly allergic to soy. And what is tofu made of? Soy. So what would be very healthy for you to eat is very unhealthy for me to eat because it can kill me. Because I'm highly allergic to it, right? And so it comes down to knowing yourself. So I need to know myself and know what's better for me. And I also have to learn to trust myself. And that's what all these psyops do. They completely separate me from my own intuition or whatever the better word is for it, from trusting what I get, what I know about myself or learn about myself or am told from my guides or my higher self.
Yeah, exactly.
Disconnect me 100% from that by getting me scared, getting me fearful.
And getting you scared, keeping you in fear. And Mish says here, they stop feeding eggs in old folks' home. This is in Australia, because Mish is in Australia, because they are bad. And she's like, She's like WTF? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, whoa, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, yeah, everything's bad for you. But, you know, really we have to listen. We have to listen to our body. And I was talking about this with my sister-in-law and brother the other day about food allergies. There's a lot of allergies in the younger generation, a lot of dairy allergies, a lot of wheat allergies. I remember your friend when you came out to Australia who had the organic dairy. And I said, here in Australia, everyone's like mad about gluten-free. Doesn't agree with me, the whole gluten-free thing. Like when I eat gluten-free bread, I actually feel sicker than when I eat normal bread. And she said, well, what it is, Karen, is that most people are allergic to the pesticides on the wheat rather than the gluten. And so when they eat gluten products, they're getting a reaction to the pesticides and not actually the gluten, but they think it's the gluten, so they go gluten-free. And she said, I found in my organic bakery that when people come in, they can eat the organic food. When they've identified as gluten-free, they can eat the organic bread. And I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. But so a lot of the younger generations are really sensitive because we need to change the systems that are poisoning us. So if like millions of kids are, you know, can't eat wheat, then the wheat industry has to change, or the dairy industry has to change if everyone's allergic to milk. So yeah, these filthy systems that torture animals and put poison all over our food, that it's got to change. And so these kids are coming in as these disruptors, as these way showers, and they're displaying a lot of sensitivities to the food that is made. Again, I think that because they're sensitive, they're feeling, you know, the imbalance in the way the food's made rather than the food itself. And you might be as well with your soy allergy.
Yeah. And that very well could be, you know, I do try to shut the brain off and the nervous system and change it, and mind over matter. And sometimes it works slightly, but when it's a really big reaction, no, it doesn't work as well. But
there's that movie called Limitless that was made into a TV series. I can't think of the actor's name. Do you know who was it? He was in a plane crash, and only two people survived. Jeff Bridges.
Rosie Perez, was that her name? And he
Rosie Perez.
Strawberries.
He couldn't eat
strawberries.
Yeah,
he's Fearless.
Fearless, was it not Limitless? Fearless? Okay.
I have
so he was really allergic to strawberries, but when he changed his mindset, because he's like, God loves me, I'm the only one that survived, I must be special. Like he had a whole different paradigm shift in his identity and who he was. He ate all these strawberries without any problem, right? And he got no reaction to it. And his wife, but he was a completely different person. And his wife, what was the actress's name? What's her name? Anyway, being names.
It wasn't Rosie. I don't remember who played his wife.
Oh, anyway, beautiful. Anyway, so the wife is like, come back to me. I want the old husband back. And so for the love of his wife, he goes back into his old mindset and he puts a strawberry in his mouth and he has this terrible allergic reaction. And I love that because it really does show the power of the mind. I once saw a hypnotist hypnotize. I often think about this in my classes. Hypnotize a woman who wore glasses. And during her hypnosis, he asked her to read a paper, to read something. And she didn't have her glasses on. And when she came out of the hypnosis, he picked up the paper. It was like an A4 and said, you read all of this without your glasses on. And she laughed and she said, oh, that's so funny. I knew these eyes worked. But again, the whole like, I'm blind, something that the psyop of age equals ill health, something that I'm struggling with too as an older person. So when you get older, you start to think about how fragile you are and how everything's going to go wrong because you're older. And and like the health industry or the ill health industry relies on you being sick to make money, right? And so they perpetuate this stuff of, you're 50 now, you're going to get bowel cancer, so you better take this test. They send out these, when you turn 50 in Australia, they send out in the mail to every citizen a bowel cancer testing kit. Can you believe it? Like you're 50 now, you get sick.
Yeah, I remember, and I should have looked up her name, but you had a guest on, I think it was in 2020, 2021, and she lived in Spain, beautiful young woman, and she talked about this interview that you had a huge impact on me, but she talked about how She had moved home and she was living at her mother's home in Spain. And this was a woman who was like a health guru and an exercise nut. And she was always working on her weight and always working on making sure she ate the right foods and all these products. And she was really caught up in it. But she had chosen this life at the time of the interview where she was just living with her mom. And her mother was getting older, so they would garden together. And she was eating the food out of the garden because it just was there and it was easy. And she got healthier and she was really healthy and was at the perfect weight. But she wasn't even thinking about, oh, I've got to eat organic and we've got to plant organic and we have to. She was just with her mother. And I remember her talking about ease. She just did it that way because it was easier. And all of those fears dropped from her. And she was so happy with herself. And she wasn't the skinny, fit, rail of a person full of muscle. She's lovely. She's gorgeous. And she was in good shape. But it wasn't all caught up in that huge fitness industry nightmare that she was a part of. Yeah. And that stuck with me because I try to go, you know what? It's just easier to do it this way and easier to do it that way. And it relieves me of so much guilt, honestly, when I do that. Her name was, I'll look it up and I'll put it in the chat or something later, but I can't remember her name. It's a beautiful interview. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I once knew a woman who was a homeopath. And she would avoid it's a bit like Anita Morjani's story of trying to avoid cancer by doing everything healthy, but the fear of the cancer created the cancer that put her into a coma where she had this near-death experience. So this woman, was a homeopath and she would try to avoid anything. Everything was organic. She wouldn't drink coffee or alcohol or, anything with pesticides. Like everything was clean, because she was trying to avoid sticking poisons into her body. Then she got sick. I shouldn't laugh. It's not funny.
No, but I hear that story all the time.
And in her pursuit of healing herself, she tried everything she knew as a natural healer, a homeopath, naturopath, exercise guru, diet guru. She tried everything she knew because she wasn't looking at mindset back then, but to try and heal herself. And she did not heal. So she eventually went the allopathic way and went to the doctors and had the chemotherapy. And I met her and her husband many years ago. We were up at a farm at a friend's place near Byron Bay and sitting down and she said, the irony of avoiding poison my whole life, and now I'm sticking out my arm and being injected with a Molotov cocktail of the most hideous poisons in the chemotherapy treatment, all in the name of trying to heal myself. She died, but she changed, like in that journey, she completely shifted her mindset from, I remember she said that she was at the cancer clinic and she said, they're really nice, they'll bring you a cup of coffee. And I was with another friend of her at the time and her friend said, oh, you wouldn't drink the coffee. And she said, you know what? A cup of coffee offered with love is more beneficial than avoiding the coffee.
Oh, yeah.
So she got the lesson. She did transition, but she got the lesson to all of this. Yeah. That it's love. Love is the power that we're looking for. It's not what you avoid. Again, there's another movie that comes to mind. Chocolate. That's right. Everyone's trying to not eat chocolate over the Easter period. Chocolate, and the priest says it's not what we avoid. It's not what we exclude that brings us to God. Oh, it's going to make me cry. It's not what we exclude that brings us to God. It's who and what we include.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's love is the only truth. So if there is a truth coming at you, which is telling you you're not enough, just remember that it's all part of the psyop, and we are in the age of disclosure. And that disclosure, when we talk about disclosure, we think about the ETs being disclosed, like we are a part of a cosmos streaming, teeming with life. and we're not alone in the universe. And one big psyop is that anytime there was any sighting, it was covered up and people were murdered and all this sort of stuff, the age of disclosure. But the disclosure is not that we are not alone in the universe. The disclosure is who we are, because these beings know who they are more than us. So not only do they want to hide their technology from us, they want to hide their consciousness from us, because they want to keep us in fear and feeling limited. Because these beings, I was going to say last week, remember when everything kept falling out of my head? We were talking about ghosts being another psyop. We've got to be scared of people in the afterlife. That I was having a chat with my guides before that show, and they said aliens don't believe in ghosts, ghosts as we understand ghosts. And I'm like, really? Why? And they said, well, because spirit or ghosts or people in the astral form are as perceivable to them as people in a physical form. They perceive, spirit. So you can't scare an alien with a ghost story. And I thought, that is really funny. And it reminded me of Susie Hansen being up on the ship when she was a kid, and the Grey, that she was one of her teachers, introduced her to an orb, a floating orb, and said, this is the soul of your son, or the consciousness of your son, that will incarnate when you grow up, will incarnate into the physical body and be your son. I'm introducing you, get to know him. And so she's a child on a ship in a physical body being introduced to an orb, which is the consciousness of a soul that will incarnate into and so here they have this relationship with that other side that we call. And so you can't do ghost stories with them, because they know that that's all a psyop. The whole fear, terror, be afraid of bumps in the night, ghosts, and so there's just, what's Mish saying? Lol, woohoo. Yeah, they're having chats.
Oh, they're putting hearts in the chat, and
always was Mish saying always enjoy, we're never alone. I heard about that in the shower. Yeah, they're all chatting amongst themselves. I love that.
and I think she's talking about like somebody spying on her in the shower. They can see through our clothes. If they really want to see us naked, they see us naked. Like, I just have to let that one go. And
absolutely.
But
let me do a station ID break. So you're listening to KAren Swain and Elevate. I was going to say Elevate. Kristen Mishmash on Elevate. We are on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3, talking about the hypnosis of social conditioning, or social, what are they called? PSYOPs, which is psychological operations, and how to overcome that. Yeah, we're in the age of disclosure, and all is being revealed and disclosed about who we are as consciousness. We're not the body. We're not even our mind. We're not even our thoughts. And we're not our fears. We are an extension of the source. And that fear, false evidence appearing real. I was saying that last time. So I think that, that disclosure amongst being alone in the universe, that, apparently governments have tried to stop us from knowing that we are a part of a universe thriving with, teeming with life, is that, most of them are much more highly evolved beings than we are. And they don't engage in the fears that humans do. And so they're teaching us. But they couldn't stop it, right? Because people are channeling, people are psychic. And as much as they try and stop that, again, the psyop that if you believe in aliens, you're BS crazy. You're crazy if you talk about another psyop. Or if you're psychic, you're woo-woo. And again, crazy, another psyop. Like, there's just so much we've been told about ourselves, which is not true. So what do we do when we wake up to it? What did you do when you woke up to it? Like, I have been lied to. What did you do, Christian?
Yeah, well, like I said, it was like for you, it was kind of an aha, like a pop, that when it dropped for me, I was just like,
it's the reason I'm on media. It's the reason I'm putting this information out. I've got to tell people. Yeah, go on.
And I mean, people generally most of the time they pay attention to what their kids are watching, but I paid even more attention to what my kids were watching and what type of programming. And I from the, I have these memories of being very, very small, and I don't like to be manipulated at all. And one of my lights just went out, but but I don't like to be manipulated. And so my kids would watch TV and they'd be like, Mom, we got to buy that moon sand. We got to buy that toy. We got to buy this. And I would tell them, I'm like, now, you know that this is a commercial to just get you to buy it. And that might be really fun, but that moon sand is only fun the first time you use it, because then it dries out, or you mix it up and it's not the bright pink and the bright green anymore. It's brown. Like, I would totally, but I go, just pay attention to what you're watching and what you're seeing. And then, it eventually grew to the fact that, I had a therapist a few years ago, and I was talking to her about some things, and she's like, where do you have this mistrust of things like of the government or whatever? And I had to really think about it, and late into the night, and I finally got my answer. And, I grew up in a very high demand religion. And when I stepped away and saw it from the outside, I really got to see through all the, just see through all the fears and the guilt that they had laid on me all my life.
Yeah.
And so, and there was some beauty in there, but I just stopped trusting all of that on face value. So it really bled into everything. And I eventually left that church. And
well, religion has a lot to answer for, because according to religion, if it feels good, it must be the devil's work. But if you're suffering, then it's God's work. Like, it's the complete opposite of what law of attraction says. Do you know what I mean? Go on.
And there were things that I knew I was drawing to myself when I look back, and I felt like I just full of light and just whatever. And I thought, oh, that's going to be fun. And that's what I really want. So that must be Satan tempting me to do the wrong thing.
Satan tempting you, right.
I seriously had that mindset. And now when I look back, that was the universe going, here's the silver platter, Kristen, and here's all the stuff you've always wanted. And now I recognize it. But what happens too, and I see this even in the spiritual communities a little bit, that they try to keep telling me that I am broken and that I need to have another healing, and I need to have this other deep meditation to really get to that. And I really need to take mushrooms to really dig deep to get to that. And I'm not dissing any of that stuff, but it comes down to trusting myself. And I struggle with that. So I'm always working on trusting myself and trusting my connection to source. I'm constantly working on that.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. That was a mouthful.
That's where you're at. That's where you're at. One of the luscious ladies online saying here, what are you saying here, don't want Indigo? Hi, or just catching up on that live. Naya talked about the weight and linked to trauma to it. She didn't eat much, but she was trying to overcome the thoughts that men wouldn't look at her if she were overweight. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about that at the beginning. I don't know if you're online talking about that whole thing, like that's something I know I was hypnotized to believe that, and I still believe it. I've believed it all my life. It's one I haven't cracked yet. And my guides laugh at me and they say, well, you still know that you're human and you're still on the planet. If you've cracked all of it, maybe you don't want to be here. If you're not working on something, maybe you don't want to be here. I was going to say something about the Buddhists when you were talking about religion, because the Buddhist religion is one of the more gentle religions that are not telling you you're so bad. But the Buddhists believe, I can't remember what I was going to say about
But don't they believe in a karma wheel? And if I don't live my life right, and I haven't studied it, but could I come back as a bug if I don't make enough of the right choices, or I do something bad to somebody? Like, is that kind of a karma in some of those types of religious structures? Is the belief of that type of karma?
I think spirituality is the biggest psyop because it has been hijacked by religion and so many false beliefs, so many false ideas, because if humanity was empowered, then we wouldn't need leaders, right? We wouldn't need anyone telling us what to do, because we would understand that that's right, we were talking about law of attraction and the devil, and saying that if it feels good, and but the Buddhist religion is the same. If you're not suffering or begging, then you're not doing, having this, I guess it comes down to not relying on material things and being happy with nothing. But Oh, right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's coming back to me now. So even to desire something, to want something is bad. And it creates suffering. That's what it is. Desire causes suffering, which comes from Buddhist teaching. That's what I was trying to say. Desire causes suffering. And I thought about this when I was young and I was studying the Abraham stuff. And Abraham was saying every molecule in our body is summoning, is desiring, like the cells in your body are summoning. Every part of you is summoning, is having some desire, right? And desire doesn't cause suffering. But what does cause suffering is that when you desire something and believe you cannot have it, that is the very essence of suffering. That is the very root of suffering. Thinking you want something really badly, but believing you can't have it, or believing you've got to work really hard for it. So desire in itself is not suffering, but having a desire and believing you can't have it is suffering. So having a desire and knowing you can have it, that's pure joy. Like, that's pure joy. I remember when I was in boarding school when I was young, and I really wanted to go ice skating. I'd never been ice skating. So it was a really big desire. And then somebody invited me out, some friend, and said, we're going to take you ice skating. So it was weeks before we were going to go, a couple of weeks. And I remember freaking out over it because it was a desire that I really had that I didn't think I could have. And can this really happen? Is this really happening? It's such a funny thought. Like, I'm 12 or 11 in boarding school and being anxious about going ice skating because I really, 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 really wanted to go. And my parents didn't want to take me, but somebody else's parents did. And so I was anxious over it, but it was a desire that I knew I was getting. There was anxiousness and excitement at the same time. So when you have a desire, maybe you're going to go on holiday and you book your holiday and you know you're going to go, there is like this excitement, right? Which is a good feeling. So the truth of life is the better it feels, the more connected you are to your power, the more connected you are to your source, the more connected you are to your soul. And the worse you feel, the bigger the lie you're telling yourself. It's not the lies outside yourself, it's you believing them. So people can lie to you, like, lie away, psyop away. You know, we're marinating in psyops. But what are you believing to be true? Like, come back to yourself. I think Vladdy said it in the chat this morning. He was saying that I guess my biggest fear was, since I was 8, to be trapped in some sort of existence where at the end my consciousness will be erased, just like the rest of the universe and cosmos, because all the cycles need to have a beginning and the end. Anyway, it's going on. This fear got me into recording my great ever since. But yeah, not another topic anyway. There's something in the chat. But yeah, like that feeling of that fear, that biggest fear that you have, that trauma that you feel, is your emotional guidance system saying to you, you're telling yourself a lie, that you're believing a lie. So we have this innate guidance system that shows us how to monitor our thoughts or monitor our mood. Like, change what you're thinking. When you change what you're thinking or what you're believing to be true to a better feeling, then you're more connected to your power to be a creator on earth, to be an extension of source energy, to feel your guidance, to feel that you're not alone. You're connected to your truth, the better you feel. So if there is this psyop happening all over the world to keep us dumbed down and in fear, then we look outside ourselves for that reassurance. I'll buy that, thing, that'll make me feel better. I'll do that, that'll make me feel better. I'll listen to that person, I'll do that, that'll make me feel better. We're looking outside of ourselves all the time. And the answers are within. Like, monitor your thoughts, monitor your mood. Surely have the desire and then be programmed to believe that we are not able to reach it without a certification or a guru. Yeah. Look, in the community that I am, there are a lot of people who are psychic, who set up shop as psychics, who haven't necessarily done a university degree to be a psychic, right? They don't have a certificate. They listen to their inner sense. It's pretty hard to control that, to certify that. I remember when I was doing naturopathy when I was young, it wasn't certified, and now naturopathy is certified. Now you've got to get certificates, and it's all government operated, and anyway, but yeah, they're trying to control what we believe and what we think.
Yeah, there's this film that I saw a couple months ago It's called The Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. It's the one that you
Oh,
said you
yeah.
went with your girlfriends and you got bored and you
Fell
went to sleep.
There
Well,
was three of us, and one was sitting in the middle, and she didn't fall asleep as much as we did. And she said, "You
Yeah.
both fell asleep almost instantly, and you were both snoring next to me."
Oh,
And I said, "That was funny."
well, I enjoyed it, you know, but there's a line in it, and it's more towards the end, and I think it's when him as the son goes back in time, but he's grown, but he's talking to his dad, and his dad thinks he's the little boy, and he's talking about happiness, and if I'll get it kind of wrong because I don't remember exactly how he says it, but the dad says something to him. He says, "Oh, you know, don't always strive for happiness. Strive to be content. Strive to
I
look
do
for
remember that
contentment,
line.
because then when the happiness comes, you'll be able to recognize it."
Nice.
And I thought, well, does that mean we just get, you know, lazy and live for less? And I like to think of it as no. Like, I am happy and I'm content. Just like that one woman, like I'm more content, you know, gardening and enjoying time with my mother gardening, and then eating that food from my garden that's more content. And then I can recognize the joyful things and the blissful things as they come along, you know. So I really love that part of that film, you know, because it's being satisfied and content,
So
and not
Kristen
fearful.
loved the film. What's it called again? The Big, Beautiful,
The Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey.
So we
And
all went to it because it's
quirky, but
we all
I
went
love
to the
it.
movies. It's not often that I go to the movies because, you know, it's $22, $25 to go and see a movie where you can watch it on a streaming network for nothing, you know, or whatever you pay. But we all went along, and I thought, oh, that sounds so great. And my girlfriend, who sat between the two of us, she said, oh, it's got really bad reviews. And I said, yeah, but the trailer looks really good. But I've got to say, I did not love it. We were all so disappointed when we walked out, but Kristen loved it. So, you know, we're in the cinema in the middle of the day or in the afternoon. There was only one other woman in the cinema. So it was just four of us in this tiny little cinema. And yeah, I did not love it. I did fall asleep.
Okay, I'll just tell you why I liked it. It had the pacing of these like the Japanese animated movies that I love, the anime, and it was just a little slower, and it was a little quirky. And Madeline, I saw it with my daughter Madeline, and we watch a lot of the Japanese anime movies together. I do with my kids, just because I love all forms, you know, of art. And I liked the slower pace, but a lot of people wouldn't be used to it. I just think it had a story to tell, and it was kind of quirky, but I like quirky things like that. And I wanted to see what the message was, because it was about going through time and time traveling and going back and
it's a
working
really
on your
interesting
past.
topic.
You know?
Yeah.
And
but you know what I didn't like about it at the end, because it's all about falling in love. It's all about like doing all this sort of inner work.
They threw in the romance part.
Just to be able to like actually love another person. And I'm like, really? Anyway, is that how messed up we are as humanity, that we've got to go through all this drama just to love another person? Anyway, we should be loving everybody. But what I wanted to say before we finish, Chase Hughes was talking about this on the Sean Ryan show. He was talking about how we, you know, the people that run advertising that have been a big part of the psyops that we believe that have shaped us, was saying that, you know, on Instagram, when you see a fluffy, fun, loving video of a dog being rescued or puppies or something that makes you feel good, whatever it is, the advertising people know that when you're in a good feeling mindset, you're more likely to make a decision to buy something than when you're stressed. So you will see an ad straight after that. And I'm like, mind you, Instagram, every second post is an ad now. So I was like looking, after I heard him say that, I'm like, wow, they know that. Wow, that's amazing. Like, we're being manipulated. Our own emotions are being manipulated. That when we feel good, they know that. Yeah. So
we're susceptible, we're vulnerable,
more susceptible, more vulnerable to buy stuff. I thought, wow, that's really interesting. Make a decision. But I think that we have to stop putting our power in the outside world, whether it's an Instagram post or something that's happening to us, to come back to our contentment or our bliss and start finding that bliss within. And that really happens through being conscious of who you are, what you believe, and knowing yourself as a spiritual being, a soul, coming back to that peace, that innate peace of who we are as an extension of the source, as soul, as love, coming from love rather than looking for it, and then grounding that as your identity. And then when you come from that power, you're able to discern all this stuff that's coming at us through the internet. Yeah, as I said, when I was young, magazines were my Bible, and every article I read and every picture I looked at in the magazine, I'm like, oh, I have to be like that. Well, that's who I am. Like, that was my Bible. And now the internet is people's Bibles. Like, they look out at what's happening on the internet and they compare themselves, and they're not enough, or they're not doing this, or they're not successful enough. And yeah, stop comparing yourself to the outside world and start returning to love. Oh, thanks, darling one, Shirley. Well,
Yeah.
would, Shirley says, 100% Karen. Yeah, we are controlled more than we realize. Who says that? Oh, sorry. Mish says.
Mish says that, yeah.
Well, we are, but we don't have to be.
Right. Well, and I want to say I'm not opposed to love.
We've
when I
run
was
out of
talking
time.
about, oh, yeah.
We've run out of
we
time.
have.
We've hit the hour. And Bloody
Oh.
says, I guess we have to remember ourselves more of who we are, and that we can create anything. And if we want to, and if we focus. Yeah, exactly. When you understand you are the creator of your reality and that you can create anything you want, for a start, you stop wanting stuff, because you only really want something when you believe you're not it or you haven't got it. It's a whole other reminder. It's a whole other. But we've run out of time. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, God, it goes so quickly. You are love. Remember to feel it. You are love. Remember to feel it. Love you all. And, just be, start to not believe the fear that's coming at you. Big love. Gratitude. Bye, darling.